Welcome to Blue Glasses Math. In this podcast, we will explore how our self-perception as math teachers and learners influences our approach to life. Whether you identify as a math enthusiast or not, this podcast is for you. Are you a teacher, a parent, a school administrator, or a student? Join me as we shift our perspective on what it means to be a math person. Let's take a look. Good morning, Alex Romero. It is so exciting to have you here all the way from LA. Thank you so much for meeting me so early. It's 8 a.m. your time, I think.
Yep. It's a beautiful morning here. Nice to get up early.
It's amazing. Is it warm there? I'm in New Jersey. It's
it actually isn't. It was 41 degrees Fahrenheit when I woke up this morning.
Wow. But it'll warm up, right? LA warms up.
Yeah, it'll probably get up to 70.
I'm so jealous. New Jersey will not be 70 today. Anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We didn't really meet, but we saw one another, or at least I saw you at NCTM in Atlanta. We're here to talk about Tile Farm today, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and how cool it is, because one of the things I noticed when I was at NCTM is your booth was like people were always coming over and just playing, but there was something else that I noticed, and I might have mentioned this in our exchange when we were talking about getting this set up, is that you guys had these awesome sneakers.
Yeah.
That had like mathematical tilings on them, like tessellations. They were amazing. Did you guys design those sneakers?
Yep, we did. And I actually
have some?
I have a bunch of ones, but here's
it's so cool. Yeah, you were not wearing those. So how did you design this? So they're
in Tile Farm Studio. So the pattern was designed in Tile Farm Studio, and then there's various print-on-demand companies where you can get your pattern made into sneakers.
Right. Well, I wanted to start with that because that really, I noticed that because each day I feel like you guys were wearing slightly different ones, and I'm like, where do you get those sneakers? So now I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to create it on Tile Farm.
And we actually had a drawing at NCTM where if you signed up for our email list, you could win a pair of sneakers, either designed by yourself or us.
That is so cool. All right. Okay. So Tile Farm, we're going to get into that in a little bit about what it is and how you're involved. And but we're going to get right started. So you're Alex Romero, and you have a math story, I'm sure, to share with the listeners. So tell us, what's your math story?
So, I mean, I guess it's complicated like anybody's, but I think growing up, I was generally good at math in school. And I think I said I liked math because of that. But I think something I think about a lot is when people say they like math, is it because they were good at math? And I think that's just like a common thing. I think especially for a first grader or second grader, it's like being good at something is exciting.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, that doesn't necessarily make your love for math deep. It's like, while I'm good at it, I like it. But if there's some tipping point where I'm not good at it, I don't know if I'm going to like it, But I would say out of school was probably where I had my more joyful, exciting mathematical experiences. And so me and my brothers were really into baseball. And I think there's a lot of amazing math in baseball. And you actually just learn about so many different things, just like ratios, percentages, decimals, the square root of 2, just by engaging in a baseball field.
So
because
throwing
from, if somebody's stealing second base, the catcher has to throw it the square root of 2 longer than if they're stealing third base.
So cool. I never even thought of that.
But that's very important. That's largely why people steal second base more often, because they have more time to get over.
I never thought of that from a math perspective, but of course, it's math.
Yep.
That's wild. Okay, so you and your brothers were into baseball, and you saw math in baseball. And did anybody influence you to see the math in baseball, or?
Yeah. So my dad is a mathematician, And I think I have two older brothers who are just a little bit older than me. So I think I was always just in the trail of their math learning. Um, but yeah, I think I don't necessarily explicitly remember it, but I'm sure growing up with a dad who's a mathematician, you're just exposed to a lot more math.
Yeah, and it's probably not like he sat you guys down at a chalkboard or a dry erase board
Yeah,
and was like, okay, guys, we're going to learn about the Pythagorean theorem and how this connects to
yeah,
baseball. It just probably happened organically.
yeah. And I think like in studies I've seen of like talking about the importance of math talk at home, it's not necessarily sitting somebody down at the chalkboard. It's just like hearing parents say, oh, look, there's 12 eggs in this carton. I'm going to get a half cup, and just using that
That's,
mathematical language regularly, it just makes it so when it occurs in math class, it's not like a foreign word. It's like, oh yeah, I've heard people
hmm.
talk about half and 12 and a cup, a milliliter, whatever.
Yeah, that's wild. And just having it be a common, it's like it's no big deal, right?
Yeah,
Like let's not make it a big deal.
yeah,
Awesome. Okay, so you work with Tile Farm. You are the chief experience officer.
yeah.
Yes.
So I think a very relevant uh, experience that I had was part of my dad's job. He got to do outreach in local public schools, and he had like a giant vat of pattern blocks that he would take to schools, and he kept at our house. And we would sit at our back table and just play with pattern blocks. And he would often come up with puzzles and be like, can you do this? And I think he was coming up with some pretty interesting, innovative puzzles. And me and my brothers got really good at just playing with pattern blocks, thinking about what you can do. Um, and so, yeah, I think
Okay,
that's,
so the pattern blocks were like in your house because it was like in between his visits to schools, and then you guys would just like
yeah,
take them out and kind of like
yeah.
explore design, but also maybe with a little hook of your dad saying like you got to build it this way or it's got to make this or something
Yeah,
like that.
or yeah, he would give more like somewhat open-ended things like, can you make a nonagon, a
Another gone.
convex nonagon using pattern blocks, which isn't incredibly difficult, but I think it's an interesting challenge. Um, but then I think another relevant thing to that is he was doing some stuff with pattern blocks, but he was also going to schools with doing like more classic science demos,
Okay.
like stuff with Van de Graaff generators or with like flame tests showing like when you burn lithium in a Bunsen burner's flame, it makes this beautiful bright magenta
Huh.
flame. So,
I didn't know that. That's wild.
yeah, but yeah, so I think it's important once we get to Tile Farm
Yeah.
that like he was kind of doing math alongside these science things.
That's pretty cool. So, but he was a mathematician doing science demos. Okay, that's
Yeah,
really cool. Cool. Awesome.
yeah,
Okay, so then now this helps me understand a little bit about maybe the trajectory of you as a child really experiencing math outside of school in ways that could be really creative to now Tile Farm. But
yeah,
I'm sure there's things that happen along the way, so maybe we'll get into those or not. So,
yeah,
all right, so I'm gonna do my best to share my screen. I've never done this in this platform before, but I'm gonna try.
yeah,
So, hit share my screen. I'm just gonna show the website of Tile Farm. Well, this is not the landing page. Let's see. Let's get to the landing page. Okay, so here's the landing page. And I'm just doing this so that the listeners who are watching on YouTube can take a look. And if you are not watching on YouTube, it's very simple, tilefarm.com. So what is Tile Farm? And like it says, math made beautiful. And to me, like that caught me right away when I was looking at the website. I'm like, math made beautiful. How often do we hear the word beautiful in math
yeah,
classes? Like we really don't, right?
yeah. And so yeah, it's funny that we don't, but I'm so entrenched in this that I'm like, wait, how can somebody think of it as anything besides beautiful? Um, but yeah, so I think like the story of how this came to be is important. Then I'll
Yeah,
kind of get into how it's used.
totally.
And
I'm gonna stop
and
sharing for a
so
sec.
when my dad was making those pattern block puzzles, he also thought it might be interesting to make a computer version of pattern blocks. And this was in the 90s. This was like way before current tile farm. But so he was experimenting with like just as a hobby outside of work, like, can I make a computer version of pattern blocks? And so he made that, and it was used in a couple schools. And actually, my brother Julian and my first jobs were helping teach a summer class using that software. Um, but
In
then,
in the 90s, kind of.
yeah, in the 90s. But then, fast forward almost 20 years later, that had just kind of been forgotten about. But then my dad was retiring from Sandia National Labs, and my brother Julian suggested to him, like, maybe as a retirement project, you could play around with remaking that in the era of tablets where some of those mechanics might be more interesting. And so he just kind of started that as a retirement project, and we weren't that involved. And he was just playing around. But then at some point, I said, I have experience writing grants.
Hmm.
Uh, you should apply for a National Science Foundation grant. And then I said, actually, I've been working as a math teacher. Maybe I'll write it for you. And then, so a valuable thing I find about writing grants is you always come up with a bunch of ideas when you do it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Hmm.
after applying for several grants that got rejected, we finally got one that was funded. And that led to a bunch of ideas being created. Um, but I think we were at the point where we didn't have the software developer who could make all these ideas come to life.
Hmm.
But then in around early 2021, my brother Julian, who was a professor at University of Arizona, I gradually convinced him. I was like, could you build something for me? Could you maybe do this for us? Could you make a game for us? And then before he knew it, he was kind of doing a lot of stuff, and uh, the scenario presented itself where we might get a significantly larger grant from the National Science Foundation. And with that in mind, he took a leave of absence from his job. And then we got that grant, and he was able to come on full time. So, yeah, we started with a new code base when he came on in around 2021. Um, and what that looked like at first was less us saying, like, what is a product that makes money that schools would buy? And us more just saying, like, starting from scratch, can we just make things that are beautiful and interesting for people of all ages?
That just
And,
gave me the chills when you said that.
but like, I feel when we tell that to business people, they're like, what are you doing? You can't, like, people hate math, and you can't just do that. Like, who's this for? And we're like my dad likes to say, it's pre-K to PhD, and people are like, um, you can't just make beautiful math experiences for people of all ages. No one's going to buy that, which is partially true. But I think we got deep into this, and then we started bringing it to schools and kind of realizing how it fits into schools and kind of readapting what we're doing. But so our existing main product is called Tile Farm Academy, and
Mm.
we found about 5 major ways people use it.
Mm.
So I think the biggest one is for fluency and number sense practice. And so we have a lot of very visual, problem solving oriented fluency and number sense things, ranging from an adaptive practice app called Daily Digits, but then we also have a lot of creative fluency oriented stuff where students are making like creative representations of 5 times 6. And then we also have a handful of open-ended math talk activities where people are shown like a beautiful tiling pattern and asked to ask questions about it. So that's use case number one. Closely tied to that is intervention. So like a lot of intervention work really is fluency focused. But I think a nice thing about what we're doing is we're very joy focused too. And I think a lot of intervention students, more than anyone else, it's not just the conceptual understanding and fluency. They need to feel better about math.
Yes.
And then the other ones are for STEAM learning. So currently Albuquerque Public Schools has STEAM labs in all of the elementary schools, and they're using Tile Farm in all of their STEAM labs just as like an engaging, creative, multifaceted application. And then we've had a lot of people using it for gifted classes too, because we designed, when I said we designed it to be like pre-K to PhD, it has a very high ceiling. So I think just a lot of gifted students have been flourishing with it. And then the last thing we've been getting into more recently is professional development. And just, I think I used to teach in elementary school, and I think one thing I found is elementary school teachers are generally kind of scared of math, especially in the lower grades. And so I think one of the biggest things to make an impact that you can do is if you can get them excited about math and seeing it as a more joyful subject, that will pass on to their students.
Amazing. So there was so much in your story that I was like jotting down notes as you were talking. And I'm thinking, okay, first of all, I love the organic nature of the growth of this, or the development of this, of Tile Farm.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what you said about how you just started off by creating something, right? Creating something that was beautiful and joyful for math without this agenda of, are we going to make $1 million or what?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is so critical and so needed. And I mean, business owners may think, but I kind of feel like I started the podcast for the same way. Like I didn't start this podcast to make money. I just started the podcast because I wanted to, I wanted to talk about math, but also there's this other layer that I thought was really interesting is it's like, you didn't wait for somebody to teach you the formula. It's like, I feel like it's parallel to what we want in math classes, right? You were like, let's figure it out as we go. And you knew, I don't know, did you feel like there's going to be barriers along the way? There's going to be moments where we're like, what are we doing? I don't know if you ever had those moments where you're like...
Yeah. I mean, I think
Obstacles, that's the word I'm looking for, obstacles.
We have a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, one thing I guess I like to think about, I'm also a musician, as I mentioned to you earlier. And I think one thing I think about as a musician is if you're writing a song and if the first thing you do is you say like, are there any songs that have the same chords as this? Like the answer is always yes. But if you just keep going and going with your song and making it personal, like it's always going to be this unique thing, even if it has the same chords as a million other songs. So I think like we kind of purposefully were like, we don't care what other people are doing in this space, at least for a few years. Like we're more interested in how people who use it react to it. Mm-hmm. And I think we also had like maybe like a much greater diversity of users than our final intended users. So like it would be like my friends who are artists who are adults who hate math. Do they find this fun? And it's like, well, I think if they find it fun, that's a pretty good metric for a little kid finding it fun.
Oh, so cool.
And yeah, we also have had like from our early beta testers, I can think of one example in particular where it was like a grandmother got it for her 6-year-old granddaughter. But then it turned out like her granddaughter would use Tile Farm like 3 times a week, but the grandmother would do it like every day. And so
That's great. Like
yeah,
it's like cognitive support for, right? Because as we get older, they say like if you don't use it,
yeah,
if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's like I know a lot of older people who do like crossword puzzles or things like this to keep themselves sharp. But here,
yeah,
you're providing an opportunity for somebody to continue their cognitive processes with like getting them to do a puzzle or something.
yeah.
Tile Farm. Ha!
And
That's
yeah,
so cool.
I think also like we're very, I guess maybe partly from being a family who does math, but we're very into the concept of family math. And I do think like it, in some ways, like the most important thing in math education is having like a supportive, vibrant home math environment.
Yes,
Uh,
clearly.
and so I think a thing we really liked about appealing to all these different people is I think your average math homework when you take it home, the parents like, this isn't fun. I don't want too much to do with that. But I think we thought if we can make games where it's like, grandma loves playing this game and the 6-year-old goes to grandma's house and they're like, let's do some math together. That's a very beautiful, exciting experience.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that was like revolutionary? I mean, I think that would change a lot of things because
Yeah.
I can tell you in my neighborhood, when my daughter turned, got to be fourth grade, she's a college now, but when she was in fourth grade, all of the parents and some of the like babysitters, whoever, would literally ambush me at school pickup.
Uh-huh.
I would be at the school pickup line, and they'd say to me, "Can you help me? Can you help me tonight? I need help with my child's homework." And they literally are like texting me all night long, like, "How do I do this?" Whatever. And it was more like they wanted me to explain it to them, so then they could explain it to their kids, which is very like top down as opposed to this, which is more like interactive and fun and exploratory and joyful.
Yeah.
I love it. So cool. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen again. Can we like dig in a little bit on just onto the web, like,
Sure.
on the website? I'm gonna go to the free stuff page. Would that be a good place to start?
Sure.
Okay. I'll share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. And here we go. Okay, it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. Okay, here we go. So we're on the website where I had clicked free stuff. What should I do?
Yeah.
Should I go to try it free, start building? What should I do?
So I mean, let's see. Let's click. So maybe I can just give you an overview. So Tile Farm Studio is a just open-ended building app, and that's really how Tile Farm started.
Okay.
So it's like digital pattern blocks, but a bunch of other different types of tiles. And so oh my gosh, this is such a coincidence.
I love how you just like made like the light bulb with your hands. This is a coincidence? Okay, it's a light bulb moment.
No, so this is like an incredible coincidence. So in the free version of Studio, we have a pattern of the day. So this was made in Tile Farm Studio. But we have a thing in Tile Farm Academy, the paid version of Tile Farm, where you can collect a pattern every day in a thing called Harvest after you complete your daily challenge.
Okay.
And among the patterns you can collect, we have a 50 states collection.
Cool.
And this is actually from the 50 states collection. And guess what state it happens to be for?
I'm going to say New Jersey.
It is New Jersey.
What?
Because
I know why. I know why. I know why.
Let's
Can
hear
I
it.
guess? Can I guess?
Yeah.
I think it's because, I'm going to get this wrong, because this is where the light bulb was invented in Newark, New Jersey, or Edison, New Jersey.
Yep.
Yes?
Yep.
Is that why?
Yep. Yep.
Ah, good. I know some
Yep.
history.
And so I would say it's an incredible coincidence because you're in New Jersey and we we probably have like 3,000 patterns or something that are randomly sampled for this. So just by coincidence,
That's incredible.
today's pattern happened to be that for New Jersey.
And you know what?
But
Okay, go ahead.
I think just looking at this pattern, uh, maybe I should ask you what you notice or wonder about.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Well, I notice that um, there's like a star in the middle, and that star, and my wonder about that star, this like thing in the middle, is I'm wondering, is that one star shape, or is it a collection of other shapes that are like maybe like overlapping, so I can't see where they're divided? You know what I mean? Like I can't see the edges
Yeah.
of them because they all kind of like go to. So that's my notice and my wonder at first.
Yep.
Do you see what I'm talking about? Let's see if I can make this big.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I
Oh,
did it again. Sorry,
and
I literally just maximized the screen. So go ahead.
and yeah, so I believe what that is, if I remember correctly. So the light bulb as a whole is a dodecagon
Okay.
that's made out of a bunch of different rhombi. And
Okay.
I think this would be a good counting problem, but
Yes.
but I think the initial dodecagon must have had 4 times 5 times 12, which would be 360 rhombi, but then it was colored in this
Ah,
light bulb-esque way.
very cool. Interesting. Okay. I
Yeah.
also wonder, like, what are all these things? So I'm gonna just click something and see. So there's all these little tools on the bottom.
Yeah, so these are just like fun little ways of
Like rotate it,
animating it.
and it makes cool sounds.
And so to give you context, this is a fully built pattern in Tile Farm Studio, but there's obviously you can
Yeah.
go to create new,
Okay.
and then you have and you can click through this. This is just an
Okay, I was like a
onboard,
demo.
or you can
Okay,
watch
no,
it.
okay. So basically, it's giving me like suggestions on how to, and these are the same pattern block shapes that you had at your kitchen table or your back table that you described.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them are different. I mean, like that one, it was like a penguin.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
So if in the bottom left corner,
Oops. Sorry, I'm a clicker.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
in the bottom left corner, if you
Yep.
click those arrows,
Oh.
you can scroll through. We have a bunch of different.
So cool. So there's dice. There's what do we call these? Pentaminoes?
Tetrominoes.
Tetranimos, like Tetris shapes. Oh my gosh, I could literally spend all day playing with this. And does this have an app? Like you can do this on an app. I mean, like on a tablet as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Obviously.
yeah.
Duh.
And so, yeah, Tile Farm Studio is how everything kind of started with Tile Farm.
Okay.
But then maybe a good place to jump to would be to go back to
Okay.
the free stuff.
Yep.
So if you click on Tile Talk,
Yep.
and this repopulates every day, so I don't know what's going to be here. But I think a fun thing to go to is how many,
Okay.
and then maybe select whatever you want, 1 through 5.
I think I'll do 2 today. It's Friday, and I'm on the spot here. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are just like beautiful daily visual math talk prompts. And so for this, the prompt is to ask as many how many questions as you can think of. So like I might, how many or things in that realm. So I might say, what fraction of the tiles are blue? But I really like these as low floor, high ceiling activities because I think a pre-K student can say like, how many colors are there? Whereas my question might have been more like late elementary early middle school, but I think a advanced high schooler could ask something more like, what percentage of the area is blue, which I think starts to become a more complex question because
For sure.
those are not equilateral triangles. So you have to figure out, wait, what are these triangles? And
Yeah.
that would be a very complex question.
I love it.
But so the basis of a lot of our numeracy content is essentially taking things that were built in Tile Farm Studio and then having students analyze them. And I think
I'm gonna get harder. I'm listening. I'm just playing. Keep talking. This one's wild.
yeah. And so I wouldn't necessarily say this one's harder, but maybe it has some deeper questions you can ask. And yeah, it's just got a lot of interesting things about it. Do you have any
Yeah.
how many questions?
My first instinct, because I work with grades 3, 4, 5 teachers, is how many dots are there and how did you count them? Right. So I
Yeah.
do a lot of like subitizing with the groups that I work with, and then how and so because it opens up the door for
Yeah.
teachers and students to be like, oh, well, I didn't see 2 times however many
Yeah.
green dice there are. I didn't see it
Yeah.
as 2 times. I saw it as whatever, and so that they can come up with lots of different ways,
Yeah.
and they can see each other finding joy in it in a different way than somebody else. So yeah,
Yeah. And when I'm trying to answer your question, I want to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So I think something I noticed, this has threefold symmetry. So I think my answer to that question can be simplified to something times 3. And then I think it's kind of easier for me to see the big squares first.
yes, me too.
And just kind of stepping back, I can see they kind of come in pairs of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can see that there's 8 times 3 in the green squares.
Oh, yes, and then that times 2 because there's 2 dots in each one, right?
Or no,
No.
it's 4 times 3 in the squares, and then that times 2.
Okay, 4 times 3 and then that times 2. So even that's so simple, that one part of this one, it creates so much opportunity for conversation. Like I see this
Yeah.
as a conversation piece, and I could totally see how you were describing earlier how grandma is sitting around with her tablet and 6-year-old waddles up and is like, oh, what's this cool puzzle, right? It's like so much better
Yeah.
than like watching her. No offense to grandmas who knit sweaters, but like this is way more interesting than watching grandma knit a sweater.
Yeah. And yeah, I think also when I look at this, I think there's a lot of like make tin strategies that can be happening. And
Yes.
and so yeah, I think the interesting thing about doing this like without pen and paper is it's like it can be hard holding all of these numbers in your head. But I think there are ways of doing this where you don't have to hold that many in your head if you're doing a make 10 strategy, for example. Like
Yeah.
I can kind of see there's an 8 dotted square that I can combine with a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's 3 2 dotted squares I
Mm-hmm.
can combine with a 4.
Yep.
And so that's 10 and 10. And then
Yep.
there's another 4 left over. So that's 24. And then I think it's 24 times 3. So
Yeah. And so what it's doing is it's giving an opportunity to like compose and decompose in a way that makes sense, not
Yeah.
in a way that I'm just going to like list a bunch of numbers and add them up in some like ridiculous column that's going to get this is like,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the same time, I think it's helpful for people to do that. And then like, yeah, a thing I love about doing these as a class is somebody comes up with a super elegant solution and everybody else gets to see that, even if the majority of people maybe came up with a more tedious approach at first. But like, I think it's helpful. It's helpful for a kid to try saying, I'm just going to count these. And it actually gets kind of hard to count because it's like, wait, where did I start?
Yes.
Because like by the time you get all the way around to 72, I don't know if you're going to remember where you started.
I would not remember where I started. And so what it
And
does is
like
yeah, go ahead.
even in a given square, it's like, wait, where did I start in that square?
Totally. So it like invites elegance. It invites mathematical like elegance, I guess is the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Right.
Yeah.
Hmm. Very cool. It's kind of like reminds me of counting collections, but on a much more joyful, beautiful space where you kind of have to think about a strategy for counting in a different way than really
Yeah.
cool. Okay, what else?
And a big thing about this activity that I'm very passionate about is I think one of the biggest problems in math classes is people are scared to ask questions. And like I think on many different fronts that's a problem, but I feel like there's this culture in math classes where asking a question means is a problem. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't know how to do that. Whereas I think like in, for example, if you go to a math or science seminar at a university, it's like the most esteemed people are the ones asking questions. And
Yes.
so I think just like when I've done this in classes, like it doesn't take that long to break that barrier down to get students to just be like, oh, wait, we can ask questions and people don't make fun of us for it. And like once you break that barrier down, it's like, wait, I don't know what a trapezoid is. And it's like, great, I'm so glad you asked because that helps me as a teacher.
I love that what you just said. I'm so glad you asked. Right? Like, wouldn't it be amazing if more teachers, not just when they're working with Tile Farm, but anytime? I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
It just normalizes it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a problem both on the student end and kind of on the teacher end. Like I feel there's kind of a culture where teachers are supposed to know everything.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like I find as soon as a teacher admits they don't know something, all the kids are like, oh, this is such a relief. Like,
Yes.
and I think it's a relief for the teacher too. Like I think a lot of anxiety in elementary school math teachers, I feel is a result of like, what if a kid asks me a question I don't know how to answer?
Right. And
But that's fine. Like
yeah.
nobody knows everything. Like I probably don't know how to do long division, but I could look it up or I could figure it out. That's part
Yeah.
of math.
I love it. Amazing. I could talk to you all day. This is really fun.
Yep.
Really fun. Cool. All right. So tilefarm.com is where people should go and check this out because
Yep.
it is so cool. So let me see. All right. How do you think? I feel like we kind of nailed this question, or we've been dancing around this question, but the question is like, how can working with a platform like Tile Farm shift kids' beliefs and teachers' beliefs about what math is?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in my experience is that just we really aim to make things joyful and beautiful and kind of once students and teachers start engaging in beautiful and joyful math, they like stop asking like, why am I doing this? Do I have to do this? They just kind of forget like, oh wait, I forgot I used to not like math. It just becomes
It's like organic.
like, this is fun. Let's do this. I like this activity.
That's fantastic. I think it's like that action, that getting them just engaged in something, right? And it's like you don't have to
Yeah.
overthink it. It's just, yeah, beautiful. Well, first of all, I want to just congratulate you on this and your family. And so it's right now, it's you and your brother, and well, you don't have to go through
And
that.
my dad.
And your dad.
And then, yeah, a few other great people, including my aunt also to
Amazing
add
that
a
I
fourth
love
family member.
I love that it's a family project, and that it happened so organically, and it wasn't like, what can we build that will sell money? It was more like, what can we build that's fun and joyful, and yeah.
Yeah. And I also have to shout out my nephews as great testers.
Ah, yes, it's
And
amazing.
and and in fact, like a sizable amount of our content just grew organically out of being like, I want to make a little puzzle for my nephew. And then it's like, oh, actually, this would be great for everybody. Let's expand this content.
So cool. Awesome. Where can people connect with you other than the website? Is there any other place where people can connect with Alex Romero?
I'm on Blue Sky as at Tile Farmer.
Tile Farmer.
Then we have Tile Farm on YouTube and Instagram.
Where did the name come from, Tile Farm? I mean, obviously tile, right? They're tiles, but like where does the word farm come from?
That's that's a great question. So I've been talking a lot about my brother Julian, who works on this, but I have a second brother, Philip, who is a biochemistry professor. But dating way back to the 90s version of this, I guess the story goes my dad walked up to Philip and he said, what should I call this thing? And my dad just said, Uncle Louie's fantastic. And he just pointed at my brother, and my brother said, Tile Farm.
Amazing. How old do you think Philip was when he named it that?
I don't know, probably like 12 or something.
Amazing. That's
but
so
yeah,
cool.
so it was like a gut reaction of his. But I mean, I like it in terms of it's a good length. And I think it's kind of descriptive of what we're doing is like you're growing things with tiles, and also like people are growing.
That's how I saw it.
Intellectually.
Yeah, that's how I saw it.
Tiles.
I was like, this is where somebody goes to find things that are nourishing on a farm.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The whole feeling of it. I love it. Because it could be, there's lots of different names you could probably call it, but I think Tile Farm suits it perfectly. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna for sure link everything in the show notes so people can go check this out and take a look. And I thank you so much. What's one thing that gives you hope?
I'm only allowed to choose one thing.
No, you can choose more than one because you know what, we need as much hope as we can get these days.
Yeah. I mean, I think in math education, something that gives me hope is I feel like the zeitgeist is moving in a great direction, and I feel like it requires a lot of crumbling of old infrastructure, and I don't think it's not something that can happen overnight, but I think there is a shift that needs time to happen, but the process is underway, and I think the overall transformation will be very good for society as a whole and for math education.
I love that. I agree with you. And I love your image of the crumbling, right? I think we have to focus on just shedding, let go, let it go.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
And it's a big, robust infrastructure, but it's moving in a good direction.
Yeah. And people like you and your family and your project. And thank you, for being here. And thank you to National Science Foundation for giving you money to do this, because how fun is this?
Thank you, NSF.
Thank you,
and
NSF.
Thank you, Pam.
Of course. And thank you, Alex. And please thank all of your family on the behalf of me at Blue Glasses Math. I love this. This is going to be such a fun episode to air. I'm Pam Brett. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Blue Glasses Math. Please follow me wherever you get your podcasts and follow along on the conversation on Instagram. And remember, being a math person is all